year also marks the 160th birthday of Professor Ray. P.C. Ray was a scientist, educationist, humanist, philanthropist, rationalist, and patriot all par excellence. Professor Ray knew English, Sanskrit, Latin, and French, so therefore he qualified for it. So he was a linguist on his own right. His first research in India was published in Journal of Asiatic Society of Bengal, 1894, and the title of the paper was Chemical Examination of Contaminants in Foodstuff Part 1, The Fats and Oils. It's very interesting that at that time he wanted to know the contaminants in ghee and the mustard oil that was sold in Calcutta. And any chemist who works on contaminants and all that, he knows that to do it fairly and honestly, you need a standard reference material. For these two materials, the fats and oil, there was no standard material, standard reference material, and therefore Professor Ray goes on to prepare his own standards for these materials. And what he says about it is pretty interesting. And I read it out. It is, however, by no means an easy task to detect by chemical analysis the adulterants used and their percentage. The composition of Indian ghee is different from that of a British cow, and hence the analysis of later, as published in English work of foods, cannot be relied upon. Another part of his work was on organic sulfur compounds, and he, to his credit, is the first synthesis of crystalline organic sulfur compounds with high molecular weights, and also the coordination compounds, the coordination chemistry of platinum, iridium, gold with the organic sulfides as ligands. Some of these things are part of the textbook today. Nature study seems to offer better attraction to the juvenile minds, and the animals and vegetables kingdoms afford almost unlimited scope in this direction. The whole world of Bengal, and write it as in India, is nature's laboratory. One of the main objects of teaching elementary science to children of tender age is to bring out their latent powers of observation, and the lessons conveyed through the life history of a plant animal are admirably calculated to serve this purpose. In 1889, he writes all his observations are in his autobiography. What he writes is, to be a successful teacher, especially of junior students who are commencing a course in elementary chemistry, it is essential that he should have a neat hand in conducting experiments, and this should be so arranged to make the lecture not only interesting but intelligible. This is particularly reflected in the national education policy. Now then, he says, an appointment is often made on the strength of academic qualification. A candidate may have done admirable research work, but I have often noticed miserable failures from such selections. You have to watch it out. It should be sine qua non for a lecturer that he should have gone a thorough probationary stage as a class assistant. It is enough to mention that the market value of an average graduate does not exceed is 25 per month. Well, you can replace these figures, it is 25,000, 25 rupees per month. You can say it is 15,000 or 20,000 rupees per month. And then he says barely 1% of them is successful in life in the worldly sense, while thousands rush to their doom thoughtlessly. Now, we need to think about this statement very carefully. It is necessary that the attention of the country should be clearly drawn to the colossal waste of energy and national intelligence in the past by our scheme of university education. And I leave it to the faculty and the students to discuss this particular issue. And therefore, at the end, what he writes is, I do not hesitate to say that degree only serves as a cloak to hide degree holders' ignorance. He knows little, cares to know less beyond the irreducible minimum required for passing the examination. And then he gives one interesting anecdote. The student taking MA degree in chemistry usually attended law lectures. And then he asked a student, why are you doing chemistry, MA in chemistry and law degree together? And that student replied, sir, if I can have the MA degree, then I shall have the letters MABL, BA is for Bachelor of Law, suffixed to my name, and my claim to membership will be stronger thereby. Now we also talked about the importance of mother tongue. And this is an issue which has been debated over the years and particularly in the last 2 years. A man of education must in the first place be one well up in all-round information, and he can gather it best and in the minimum time if he does so in language he learned to slip in while sucking his mother's breast, the language of his nursery. Arithmetic, history, economics, politics, logic, geography. In the short, the book of knowledge can be readily be mastered in one's own vernacular. That should be the first stone in our education edifice if we want to build well and high. Professor Ray was an academic entrepreneur, first academic entrepreneur of the country, and his vision for India was progress of India and Indians can only be possible through education and economic prosperity of the masses. And for later, that is for the economic prosperity, the commerce and industry are essential, and that chemistry can play a major role for countries' industrial and economic progress. And therefore, he founded, we all know, the Bengal Chemical and Pharmaceutical Works in 1892. He was also associated with several other commercial ventures like the Bengal Potteries, Bengal Enamel, National Tanneries, Weighing Machine, Manufacturing Company, Indian Shipping Company, the Scindia Shipping Company, publishing houses. In Europe, industry and scientific pursuits have gone hand in hand. Both have advanced pari passu. I began a thorough examination of Calcutta drugstores and made inquiries of the imports as to the quantities in which the British pharmacopoeia medicines are imported. I had read in my textbook that the sulfuric acid mother of all other industries. When I began my preliminary trials, I had no previous experience, and this is you need to prepare sulfuric acid as the starting material without previous experience of large-scale manufacture, and that's true with every youngster today. I visited works in Calcutta, the sulfuric acid works. The primitive and wasteful methods of manufacturing of all these acids made me almost sick. Having selected the problem of locally manufacturing on large scale, some of the chemicals which hitherto used to be imported, I took preparation of some chemicals to start with, syrup iodide, liquor arsenical, liquor bismuth, spiritrus erythris nitrosi, and potash nitrous, and later added preparation of Ayurvedic medicine. Bilati, that is the imported drugs from the firms of established reputation, command a ready sale, whereas they see the indigenous drugs would be refused by our customers. Indian Medical Congress was held in Calcutta in 1898, where an exhibition of the preparation of pharmaceuticals was organized. So what he does is he demonstrates the formulations made by him. These are the Indian ones, these are the local ones. And then this Indian Medical Congress, they gave a strong representation to officially recognize the medicines prepared by Professor Ray. So the strong representation was made by the Council of the Congress, urging the official recognition of some of these drugs, and the British pharmacopoeia authorities were at last prevailed upon to find the backseat for them in the addendum. And from here, there was no looking back for Bengal Chemicals and Pharmaceutical. The Bengal Chemical and Pharmaceutical Works is one of the most go-ahead young enterprise in Bengal. Dr. P.C. Ray started it as a small private concern about 15 years ago and made drugs from indigenous materials. About 6 years ago, it was made into a limited liability company with a capital of 2 lakhs. Many of the chemists in Calcutta are shareholders of this company. It has now a well thought out and well managed factory with about 70 workmen. The variety of manufacture of laboratory apparatus which requires skilled craftsmen in wood and metal has been taken up. So now the plans for expansion, that we should produce the laboratory apparatus and also go for the perfumes. He remained associated with it until 1939, and he resigned in 1939. Professor B.C. Ray's attempts in British, the Bengal Chemicals and Pharmaceutical work inspired several people, and 2 academicians I should name here. One is Risharam Sani, who was a professor of physics and chemistry at Government College, Lahore. In 1914, he established sulfuric acid factory at Lahore. And another one was from Mumbai, Trubhandas Kalyandas Gurjat. He was in constant touch with Professor Ray, the professor of chemistry in the Wilson College, Mumbai. He started a small chemical factory in 1903, and in 1907, he started Alembic Chemical Works at Baroda. This was under the patronage of Maharaja of Baroda, and this chemical factory, the chemical works, still exists. This Rowlatt Act gave draconian powers to the government to arrest people who are supposedly anti-national at that time. And Chittaranjan Das organized a protest against the Rowlatt Act in Calcutta, and he requested Professor Ray to speak. Well, what he spoke appeared in the next day's newspaper, and the write-up says he was a man of laboratory, but he felt that these are the occasions which demanded that he should leave his test tube to attend the call of the country. And there he gave this slogan: science can afford to wait, but Swaraj cannot. It's a monumental book on glorious achievement of ancient India in the field of chemical and medical sciences. He himself was an expert Sanskrit language, and being an expert chemist, there cannot be any better combination to interpret the advances in chemical, medical, and metallurgical sciences in Ancient. And today when we discuss the ancient Indian science, the contributions, the first name we take is Professor Ray, because he rationally brought out everything. And whatever was superfluous, he had absolutely no qualms in saying that this did not exist, must have been added at a later stage. And this particular thing we know today that India has a rich heritage of chemistry and metallurgy, starting from Indus Valley civilization to all these things. What we know, these are the largest metal structures, metal pillars in the world. This picture is from the Konark Temple. And this is something which I'll spend little time towards later stages. This is the one where the industrial level production of zinc was done in India. The chemistry and metallurgical development are divided into 5 periods. Vedic period up to 600 CE, then the Ayurvedic period up to 800 Common Era, then there is the transition period, 800 to 1100. Tantric period is 1100 to 1300, and iatrochemical period 1300 to 50 Common Era. Now, well, you can imagine what is the genesis of this verse. The Ayurvedic period, where the in structure of Ayurveda, the medicinal system was established. Then there was a transition period in which the metal-based medicines were introduced in India. So there was a transition. The Tantric period was a very, it's an important period, but it's a very strange times when the chemical sciences and Tantric practices, they got amalgamated. A lot of chemistry was done in the worship of Shiva and Parvati. And also in the Buddhist Tantra, they were done for the worship of Buddha. And then there are iatrochemical period where most of this chemical knowledge was used for public use. And then he goes on to show what's in different periods of time, what was achieved. And you can see these are most of the things are relating to the daily things what we'll be using and also the metal and all this. What I'll not go into the details. And he provides, I mean, there's a painstakingly he keeps writing about it, and there are several things which he talks about. We lost the, see, after this Nalanda was destroyed, we lost the formal education system in this country. So the skills were remained confining to the families, caste, subcaste, and the knowledge got fragmented. You can imagine this in the 4th century AD. Indians across the country were producing steel in the same manner. So there was some way of communicating even those times. But that somehow things were lost. And there was a decline of scientific spirit. And which Acharya Ray says that this country is naturally prone to metaphysical subtleties. We are interested more in abstraction. We are interested in karma, artha, moksha, and all that. You know, the abstract ideas. We generally not tend to discuss what is required for the society and how we can produce and make become. Acharya Ray revived and handed on the flame the pursuit of truth, which once burned so bright.